shoot. Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Welcome back to part 2 of last week's content, where we started by looking in detail at the Perimeter 40 backpack from VIKTOS. I definitely recommend checking that out if you've not watched it already, because today what we're going to be looking at is mainly the differences between the Perimeter 40 and the Perimeter 25 that I currently have on, but then also looking at another similar bag, very popular bag, which is the Rush 24. Now before I get into this, I think it's very important for me to point out that when I like to compare things, I like to compare things on the positives for each of them. There may be some things that maybe something is, I don't know, possibly missing, but fundamentally this isn't about this bag is awesome, this bag is crap. It's not about that at all. What we're looking at here today is 3 very good bags, and I'll go into some of the differences between the 3 of them, and maybe, you know, there are bags that I prefer, but that's not because one of the other bags is rubbish. It's just because for me, for the way that I use it and some of the features within that pack, that it just is a better bag for me. That's not to say that the next person, the other bag, may be a better bag for them. So it's more around how I use it and the features from each of the bags. I 100% in my life believe that, you know, we're all different, and you know, there's nothing that is certainly better or worse than something else, and that, you know, everything has its own differences, and being able to have our own opinions of each of those is the best way to be. So I definitely don't want anyone at any point to think that I'm hating on any bag over another bag. Hopefully it'll just come down to, you know, pointing out the differences and just, you know, just mentioning which one I do prefer out of these. Now that's quite a long beginning, so I'll get straight into it now, but I feel that it was something that's important to say before I started. Now I'll turn the camera around so we can have a look at these, and while I'm doing that, if you do enjoy this content at any point, please feel free to hit that like button and subscribe. That would be awesome. But for now, let's get the camera around, let's have a look at these bags. So I thought it would be useful to start out with the 2 Perimeter packs. These are both within the kind of Perimeter family. On this side we have the Perimeter 25, which is a 25-litre backpack. On this side we have the Perimeter 40, which is a 40-litre backpack. The 2 bags share a lot of similarities in the fact that a lot of the features that are in the smaller pack are replicated into the larger pack. However, and I certainly commend VIKTOS for doing this, rather than just taking the Perimeter 25 and just going, you know, we'll just increase the size of it but just make it the same bag. Instead, they've took a lot of the features out of here that I really liked about this pack when I first reviewed it, put it into this, but then added to it with the extra volume as well. So they could have gone down the easy route, and I definitely commend them for not going down the easy route and just copying this bag but just bigger, and you know, Control Shift Delete, and you know what I mean. So on the left hand side, this is the Perimeter 25, so right hand side, this is the Perimeter 25, which measures 18 inches by 12 inches by about 8 inches deep. The Perimeter 40 is 19 by 15 by 11 inches deep. So there's quite a lot more room. In fact, you know, 25, 40, it's roughly twice the size, and you can certainly fit a lot into these. Now, similarities wise, they both have on the front laser cut molle. They both have this easy access pocket, or a vertical easy access pocket, which is great to be able to get into your stuff. Both of the packs also have this CCW section on the front, which is great if you're in an area of the world where you can CCW, whether you want to obviously carry it off your body. It does come with a little cloth holster just in case you did want to use that, but you know, there's sufficient options in there for you to be able to mix those around. Now I'm going to skip this larger section here, mainly because that's one of the larger differences. Other similarities, you know, they're both made from KODRA. The 40 here is 1000D KODRA, whereas the Perimeter 25 on this side, because this uses multicam, again, you know, there's the option of multicam black or multicam here, this is a 500D. Moving on to the back section of this, when I open this, hopefully you'll notice part of the difference here. So rather than having full clamshell on this side, because there is a water or a side pocket here that you can put water into, this just opens halfway down on this side and pretty much all the way down to the bottom. On here you can fit a 15-inch laptop in here, but this is what sold me on this pack, and I just don't know why no one's thought of it, but these pockets are huge. These go all the way down. You can put so much into these. From my personal use, these have been absolutely brilliant. But what you get is this panel here and some of the organisation here on there is copied pretty much directly into the Perimeter 40 here on the back. Oh, that was user error, not bag error. So here on this side, hopefully you'll be able to see, there's your 15-inch laptop, and here are those large pockets. There's extra compartments in here so that you can put extra things in. You know, I was talking to somebody on YouTube the other day, and they were asking why so many companies put all of these CCW sections in, because, you know, there's a large proportion of the world that don't carry firearms. And that's right, but I mean, here in the UK, I'm not allowed to carry a firearm, but these pockets make excellent tech pockets, whether they're spare batteries, whether they're extra cables. There's so much of modern technology that you can fit into these rather than having to put a pistol magazine instead. So again, you know, just going through the similarities, the suspension system on this, I can't pick any faults with the suspension system. The suspension system is great. The back is padded really well. All of the buckles, Duraflex buckles, all of the zips or YKK zips, again, you know, I can't pick any faults with that whatsoever. Both of the packs as well also have a pocket here on the top, which is really nice and big, that you can get into there. Same one on this side, that you can put your mobile phone, maybe your wallet, keys, that sort of stuff. I pointed this out on the last video, but every time I see it, I'm just really impressed by the amount of detail and the amount of extra work that's been put into these suspension straps. So the suspension strap is fixed on, and there is an extra large part of nylon webbing that holds that in place. That then comes over, and where that is then, it's box stitched with an extra piece of webbing, and then where the webbing ends, again on both packs here, there's another box stitched piece of nylon webbing to hold that in place. I mean, that's pretty bomb-proof. So as far as the actual main difference between the two, comes down in the 40 to this larger zip section here. It also has two zips on both. It has two expandable pockets on both sides, which is another difference between the two. That one just has the one on one side, but it's the way in which the geometry of this has changed. So with the Perimeter 25, if I just close this up for a second, you'll notice that where the grab handle is in front of these zips, which actually makes it really balanced when you need to pick this up. Great grab handle. Whereas on the Perimeter 40, the grab handle moves back slightly, which again, it still keeps it nice and balanced, so that you have this extra pocket here, which zips pretty much all the way down to the bottom. Although it's not a full clamshell, that is something that I brought up in the last video, and that is the fact that it does go all the way down, but you then have these gusseted sections here that stop it from falling completely open. It would be very easy, you know, if you wanted to modify this, to be able to cut these out so that you could get a full clamshell if you wanted to. But this is the main big difference, and this is where a lot of the extra room and a lot of the extra capacity with the 40 litres comes into it with the Perimeter 40. So you get an extra huge section here. You have two large separated bottle holders, or whatever it is that you want to put in there. Across the back you have a large mesh pocket that you can again subdivide all of the things that you want to put into here. There is an extra one at the bottom, another mesh pocket here at the front. You've got this huge, almost cavernous section that you can put well, as much kit in. So the way that VIKTOS talk about this, they refer to this as a 72-hour bag. So with the 40-litre capacity, you can fit enough kit, enough gear in here to be able to do something for 3 days, which I've took this away and have been able to do that. I took this away with a family, and I put everything that I took with me just in this one bag. I didn't take a suitcase or a big hold all, so you can fit that in here. And then very cleverly, on the front panel here, there is this additional drawstring section. So if you've got dirty grots, you've got clothes that you want to keep separate, you can put all of that in here, so it all stays completely separate away from all of your clean clothes that are in here. I used it while I was out walking. Whenever we go for a walk, I thoroughly believe in the leave it as you found it. If we take things and we've got rubbish, we'll put that in a plastic bag and we'll put it in here, and again it keeps all of that rubbish completely separate from here. I'm not too sure on what this is. Well, I know what it is. It's a RIPSTOP nylon, but it feels around that, say, 250 up to maybe a 300D RIPSTOP nylon, but it's very tough. And as I say, you just pull that closed, put it on there, fold it closed, and then you've got enough in there to be able to get away for a good, I mean, I went for a week and I had enough in there. The 72 hours mainly comes from the military use, so that you've got enough food, you've got enough provisions, ammunition and everything that you can put into a pack like this to be able to take it away. Now, I know I've gushed about these packs a lot in recent pieces of content. About both of them really. So the Perimeter 25 was my first kind of taste of what VIKTOS had for me. This was sent to me by TacTree. I'll leave some of their description information in the description below, and it really did blow me away. I didn't know what to expect from VIKTOS. They were completely new on the market, or at least they've been around since 2017. There were a lot of other companies out there that have been making packs for a lot longer, and I didn't know what to expect. But the thought that's been put into this, especially again, I've mentioned for my use, there's a lot in here that just fits my use perfectly, especially in that tech section where you've got your laptop and those longer pockets. It's absolutely brilliant. I've also took this skirmishing with me when I've been playing some airsoft, and it also makes a great bag when you're out during the day. But what they've also done is, as I say, they've took a lot of the features out of this. The bits in there in that tech section's all here on the back, so you can keep your tech and electronics away from any sort of gear that you've got in here if you are away on business or you're traveling. It also means that if you do have to go through airport security, that it's all here on the back rather than having to open this and your boxes and stuff are falling out. But then they've also gone, that extra bit, instead of making just the 25 but 15 litres larger, they've put a lot more thought, especially into this main capacity section. And I think that shows, as far as the amount of thought that's been put into these bags. I think they really do show that these are that kind of the fruits of their labour, that they've put in a lot of thought. I'm just trying to think of the correct analogy for this, but hopefully this all makes sense. Okay, now before we start on both of these two bags, there's just a correction that I realised that I made last week. And while I was thinking of my numbers and my bags, I got a couple of them mixed up. So I mentioned that this was a 72-hour bag and talked about comparing it to another 72-hour bag, which the Rushed 72 is actually a 55-litre bag, so it's an extra 15 litres above the 40 that we have here. In my haste, what I was talking about was a similar bag, which is the Rush 24 here, which is classed as a 24-hour bag, but you know, you can fit an awful lot into this. But the main reason that I thought it would be better to compare these two, because these two bags have more similarities between the two of them, with the 24, which is a 37 litre bag, rather than the 72, which is a 55 litre bag. So I just thought I'd point that out, mainly because it's something that I noticed last week, and I just want to make sure I made sense when I was talking about things. So although we've already been through the dimensions with this one, you know, I'll say again, this is a 40 litre bag that measures 19 by 15 by 11 inches deep. The Rush 24, and this is the Rush 24 version 2, is 20 inches by 12.5 inches by 10 inches deep. So it's slightly smaller, but you know, as I've already mentioned, this is a 40 litre bag, whereas this is a 37 litre bag. Now they both have a quick access pocket on the front. The Rush is very similar in the fact that, you know, you have lots of organisation in the front here. This front panel isn't utilised, which is a shame, but you know, it doesn't detract anything from the amount of stuff that you can put into the front here. One of the upgrades on from the original Rush 24 to the Rush 24 2.0 was just a reorganisation of this panel, that you can fit a little bit more into there. Then moving up the top, there are some extra pockets here, which can be used again for quick access on smaller things. These are really useful, so when you swing it round to the side, you know, you can access that. Whereas if you carry it on the left, you can swing it open around that side and still be able to open that. They're both made from very similar fabrics. This is the 1000D KODRA. This is a 1000D ballistic nylon. The Rush 24, most of the Rush packs come in 5, maybe 6 different colours. You've got your kangaroo, which is like a coyote. This is the Ranger green. There is an all black, a navy blue, and the double tap. The difference with the double tap is that the traditional PALS webbing on the front here, so it's a completely grey pack, but with the double tap it's completely grey, but they use black PALS webbing on the front. I quite like it, but then I just wish that 511 did a completely all grey version, completely all grey, and grey PALS webbing here as well. It's another difference that you'll probably notice between the two, and that is that rather than when they changed this to the 2.0, they still stuck with the traditional PALS webbing, whereas VIKTOS have gone down the laser cut PALS webbing instead. As far as side panels is concerned, both have access pockets that you can use to store water or extra kit. However, it's just done in a slightly different way. The VIKTOS, the Perimeter here, has an expandable pocket that uses a zip that you can put in a full 1 litre 32 ounce Nalgene bottle into there. But there's no other, apart from this little attachment that you can use to store water just in case you're worried that it might fall out. But as far as that, there's no extra modularity as such on the side. Whereas the 24 from 511 continues to have the PALS webbing on the side, so that you can add to that if you choose to. And instead of having external water sections, they have a zip down the side that if you want to, you can store more kit, or you can store a water bottle in here. These are brilliant. I do quite like these. The difficulty with these is, as far as storing a water bottle in there, really you're looking at like a standard Coca-Cola bottle style bottle that you can fit in. If you wanted to put a litre Nalgene bottle in there, it's just not going to fit. On the bottom, both of these packs, it's completely flush on the bottom. The Perimeter 40 does have an extra layer on the bottom to make sure, if you are worried about this being thrown onto the floor, that there are then 2 layers of 1000D, whereas the Rush 24 just sticks with the 1 layer. But the Rush 24 does have some lashing points, which I think would be really useful on the bottom of the Perimeter 40. Whereas this has the lashing points and this doesn't. Instead, the Perimeter 40 has this really large, beefy grab handle that you can use. You can pick this up from any side and throw it around if you need to. On each of the sides with the 25 you have 2 compression straps. The Perimeter 40 unfortunately doesn't have any sort of external compression on it, which I did actually forget to mention in the last video when I reviewed this. I think if they did do a version 2 of this in years to come, that having some compression on the side would be really useful, just so that if you've got stuff in here or you've took stuff out, being able to compress that back down. It's certainly useful for when you're traveling as well. So the 24 here opens up. It doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, so it isn't a full clamshell. And then on the inside, it's just a large dump pouch section. This is where pretty much I'd say probably the full 35 out of the 37 litres can all fit into here. On the front panel here, all of these are zipped off mesh sections so that you can add extra storage into these if you choose, and you know, being able to separate stuff. Very useful when you're camping with this, to be able to put stuff in here. And then on the back, which is an additional thing that they added with the 2.0 version, is that in here it now has a padded dedicated laptop section that you can fit up to a 15-inch laptop. Now I did test this, so I have a MacBook Pro which is a 16-inch version, and that will fit in with ease. Being able to get it in, there's no issues. The one thing that it suffers from slightly, and I mean it's not a massive issue, is that when you're pulling it up, because the lip of the top of the bag is here, you almost have to just kind of do that to be able to get it in and out. It's a tiny issue, and it doesn't really take anything away from the fact that this now has a dedicated laptop section. This little bag here is the quick access pocket here on the top. That's the bag on the inside. Whereas hopefully, as we've just seen, you'll all know with the 40, this has this huge section again with lots of storage in here. This isn't where your laptop goes, you know, that goes on the back, where you have extra pockets on the side, on the back, and you know, I've already talked a lot about how useful and the amount of thought that's been put into that large section. As far as suspension systems is concerned, I can't grumble with either of these two packs. The Rush 24, the yoke suspension system that they use on this, you know, this, I think if you looked up tried and tested in a dictionary, you would see the yoke system of the Rush 24 and the Rush 12, because, you know, this is tried and tested and it works so well. The version that they have on the Perimeter 40 again is really good. I have no issues whatsoever with these, both of them. The padding in there is just sufficient. They're also a wider style to make sure that a lot of that weight is dissipated across the shoulder and round through the chest. The way in which they do the padding on the back is slightly different, but you know, you can see the similarities between the two. They have these padded panels in different sections, and then there is an area for air to be able to pass through there, so that you can make sure if you are sweating a lot that, you know, you get some of that pass through. There is a sternum strap. One of the major differences on the back here is with the 24 you have a 1.5 inch D-ring, double D-ring for a what is it? It's a belt. That's what it is, silly man, that you can have on here. With the Perimeter 40 instead, it has a pass-through. It does come with a belt. As I mentioned in the previous video, the belt is just a little bit tagged on, but it does have the option here that you can pass, I think that's a 3-inch gap, so you can pass a 3-inch belt through there so that you can use that to be able to stabilize your load a lot better with the Perimeter 40. Now there is a similar part on the section here, but really it is completely different in the way in which it's used. So we've already looked at on the 40 that this back section here really is that tech section that I've gushed a lot about, how very well thought out it's been done. On the 24 there is another zip here on the back, whereas this one is just used for your hydration bladder. You have a bit of hook and loop here on some webbing so that you can put it into there. They both hold up to a 3 litre water bladder. This then goes up, and then you can walk and hydrate yourself while you're doing that. One of the things, having tested this a bit more, that I've found with this is that possibly might not be the best place to have your water bladder, and the reason for that is, if I fill this with 37 litres worth of stuff, imagine that's my back, the weight of this, all of that 37 litres is pushing directly onto this. Now I know when it's suspended from you, that weight falls down there, but when you've got your straps on there, you've got a harness on, you're walking, a lot of that weight and that pressure falls directly onto this back panel. So imagine this back panel being full of liquid and a pipe coming out of the top. When you're using it, because that weight is pushed onto there, when you bite on the adapter at the top to hydrate yourself, you get this really uncontrollable gush of fluid straight into your mouth. Some of you may not be used to uncontrollable fluids erupting into your mouth, but it's new to me, but that's one of the possible downsides. The way that the yoke system comes out here is right on top where the bladder hose comes out, and it sits on that as well, which is also a bit of a difficulty. I've also mentioned, they both have a little quick access pocket. We've seen it on the other one over there as well, which is really useful when you're on maybe a break and you want to put your phone or your wallet or some keys in there to be able to grab those. One of the other major differences, here in the UK, it's not used as much, mainly because of the laws that we have here, is the way that each of these tackles CCW. So one of the new features that was added in the 2.0 version of the Rush 24 is it has this Velcro section here behind this organisation panel, and this is where your CCW is stored. But it really is just a large dump pocket with some hook and loop on the back, so that if you need to arm yourself, you can get in, you can pull out whatever, defend yourself, put it back if needs be. But it is essentially just a large pocket that, if it rains, will probably get flooded as well, because there's no sort of drainage or anything like that in there. Whereas with the Perimeter 40, if you are concerned and you want to protect yourself, the way in which this section has been thought out, especially for CCW, you can fix your pistol on there. There's extra sections that you can put magazines into there if you're using this as a range bag. There's just a little bit more thought put into the CCW section on the Perimeter over the Rush 24. Now I know after probably 20 minutes of content, we're now at the point where you're thinking, come on Moorlander, which is the bag that you prefer? Now I've used the word prefer on purpose, and that is because, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, I don't think, as far as the term better really should be used in the way in which the features that I use, I find they're better for my use. Prefer, I think, is probably suited more, because when we're talking about better, the Rush series is an absolutely amazing series. There's a reason why this got inducted into my iconic Hall of Fame. The Rush 12, the Rush 24, if you look back in the comments, I asked in that content who has one of these and has had it for a decade and it still looks brand new, and it's full of it, absolutely full of people saying, I've took this through several theatres of war, I've took this backpacking for God knows how long, and I've now passed it down to my kids because this is a beast. However, as far as my preference, if you've not worked it out already, my preference actually goes with the new kid on the block with the Perimeter series. This is a great pack. There's no getting away from the fact that I'm getting my perimeters and my rushes mixed up now, that the Rush series is a great pack, but I think it's starting to show its age. And that is in the fact that when they went from the original to the 2.0 version, it feels like they rested on their laurels just a little bit too much. Whereas VIKTOS, the new kid on the block, they've come in, they've clearly looked at a lot of other bags and thought, how can we build on what other bags have? There's no way that any company starts without market research onto what is out there. The organisation on this pack is far, far, far superior in the fact that there's a lot more that you can do with it, especially for my use, the way in which I have been using the 25, the way in which when I went away I did use and tested the 40. There's just a lot more in this pack. And then we get onto the price. Now, again, you know, not saying that one is certainly better than the other for the price. I think the Rush series, these are roughly around about £120, probably in the US it's about $120. I think if you've got $120 and you can't go higher than that, you can't go better than this bag. Whereas if you do have an extra, I think it's an extra 40, I'll check, it's either an extra 40 or it's an extra $50. For the Perimeter 40, you're getting a lot more in this. The materials are very similar, you know, they both use Duraflex, they both use YKK, but there's extra things on here, like you get the AQUA-GUARD YKK zippers. The ring pulls on these are they just feel a little bit nicer. There's the new laser cut moly on the front. If you did go for the Citadel version of this, it is a little bit more EDC, a little bit more Greyman kind of friendly. But if you did want to go all tactical, they do have the multicam variants as well. I think what I want to close is by saying, and again, you know, I've probably said this way too much. I have no sort of brand loyalty between these two. So hopefully this has tried to have been as impartial as possible. If I have sounded like, you know, I've leaned towards this, you know, it's mainly because I have preferred this bag over this one. But they're both two great packs that I think you can get either of these, and you know, in 20 years time you'll be able to pass these down to the kids, because they're that tough. So there you go. I really wasn't sure how to end this video. I wasn't sure at all. There's some definite points that I do need to get to, and that is to thank VIKTOS for sending both these bags my way. Full disclosure, you know, I didn't have to pay for these. They were sent to me free of charge, but it was always part of the conversation that I have with manufacturers when they send me stuff, is that I want to stay completely impartial. I certainly don't charge companies to make this sort of content. I mean, as it happens, the Rush was sent to me so as well, so you know, I've not had to pay for either of these, but hopefully that just shows that there's completely impartiality. I'm certainly brand agnostic, apart from some of that Tasmania Tiger stuff, being a, you know, I do love their gear, being a UK ambassador. Anyway, so massive thank you to VIKTOS. I'll leave all of their links in the description below. If you're in the UK and you want to pick up either one of the Rush series or one of the Perimeter series, I'll leave some links in the description below to TacTree. They're a UK supplier here in the UK. I've worked and got quite a good relationship with them, so you know, hi to the folks at TacTree. Social media links, all of mine, there below. You know the usual deal. Like, subscribe and share. That would be awesome. It really does show that you like my content. I get so many people saying your channel's amazing, and I know, and they're like, you should have more subscribers. I'm like, I know I should have more subscribers. That sounded really big-headed, so if you'd like to subscribe, that would be awesome. But for now, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC.